welcome to Dojo Live this Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. My name is Kim Lantis, and as always, it is my pleasure to be hosting today. Joining me as guest is Jon Harden, CoreSelect Sales Manager at M3. Jon, thank you for joining us on Dojo Live.
Hey, Kim, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. It's going to be a good time
Yeah.
today.
Yes, it's going to be a really, really great conversation because I'm very excited about looking at technology that's geared towards today, the smaller portfolios, and specifically what hotel accounting. We're going to talk about how you keep score matters and why detailed accounting matters for hotels and how innovative hotel solutions, right? Specifically software solutions can benefit you out there. So hoteliers, listen up. But before we dive into the software that M3 is presenting, I really would like to get to know you a bit better, Jon. If you could share a bit about your background and what it is that brought you to your current role at M3. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I will start off by saying that M3 really touts, for hoteliers by hoteliers, and that's our company was built from hoteliers that had come up through the ranks and needed a better mousetrap for accounting.
Mm.
I was not a hotelier. I'm an outlier, and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn last night. I am not a hotelier, and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn. So I came to M3, my career path. I spent about 20 years in the software and services space, selling financial software into the banking and credit union space. So I did that for quite some time. A colleague of mine at the company where I worked actually landed at M3 about 13 years ago as the chief sales and marketing officer. And I was lucky enough that a little over 7 years ago, he asked me to join M3. I came over as the national sales manager for our labor management product, and I focused specifically on getting our labor management tool out into the marketplace. Since then, I've kind of transitioned into some different roles. I have sold all of the products that M3 has, from our flagship accounting core product to our labor management tool and our Insight business intelligence and analytics tool. I've sold all of those. And a little over a year ago, we rolled out a brand new product, a new accounting application, which we're going to talk about a little bit about today. The product was called CoreSelect. And I had the privilege of being put in a position to build a sales team to specifically market that new tool and roll it out. So that's kind of where I came from and how I wound up in this spot today.
I love it. The jack of all trades and master in all trades, let's say.
Well, we'll run with that. You keep going with that.
Yes, we'll go with that. So you did touch quite a bit here on who M3 is, but for those who might not be familiar, could you tell us a little bit more about your portfolio and how it is that you've become a key player in the hospitality industry?
Absolutely. So earlier this year, M3 celebrated 25 years of delivering
Wow.
hospitality specific tools into the industry. We started out 25 years ago with a product that we now call Accounting Core. It's had a couple of name changes from marketing perspectives over the years, but the product has remained the same. As I mentioned earlier, it's always been for hoteliers by hoteliers. Our founder, John McKibben, has over 30 years of hospitality experience. He started his career working as a night auditor for his family's Holiday Inn. And along the way, he has always been an innovator and always had an eye on what could help the industry. So much so that when personal computers first came out, he actually had one of the first personal computers that was available in the market space. And he was, in his mind, looking for a better way, a better mousetrap for hospitality accounting. So he had a programmer, and he knew what he needed in the product. So they came together and started building out this product. It first rolled out in 1998 was when we first released that first product.
Oh, wow.
Along about that same time, this little thing called the internet reared its head.
Another thing.
And again, John, being an innovator, He initially was designing the product to be housed in-house, servers sit in-house, and kind of how it was looking there. But he saw this thing called the internet and said, what a way to deliver accessibility to the software.
Yeah.
So he kind of turned a little bit and started developing the product to sit what we now call in the cloud, in a cloud delivered tool. So our products have always been from day one delivered via internet access. So
Wild.
Jon has said over the years, I've heard him say that he spent the first number of years not really having to sell prospects on how good the software was, but selling them on the fact that the internet was going to be around long term. And I think that has happened. It has been a pretty successful run. And, we now have over 8,000 properties across North America using one or more of our applications, and pretty much all of those are using one of our accounting platforms, and then some of our complementary products as well.
Perfect. And I think that's a really great segue into the topic. I'm hearing some feedback. I'm good. Okay. A really great feedback, or excuse me, segue into the topic of conversation. And that's why is detailed accounting so critical for the hospitality space, and especially for these smaller hotel portfolios? So let's just shed some light on accounting and hospitality.
Sure. Well, that's a great question. So, when you asked me to be on the podcast, and I was trying to think of a topic, and I will say, how you keep score matters was not did not come from me. I actually picked that up from a peer in the industry, and visiting with him on a couple of different occasions, and he shared that how you keep score matters from an accounting perspective. And I think even in the smaller hotelier portfolios, probably even more important, because a lot of those smaller portfolios, maybe they're new into the hospitality industry, and they're trying to not only manage and operate the properties that they have today, but I would say most all of them want to expand their portfolios and grow. So to be able to do that and have a detailed view of your daily operations of your business, why it matters what the pennies look like. Pennies add up to dollars, and being able to do that, it's critical to have the detailed financials, because it helps you make informed business decisions. There are other solutions out there that can lump all the numbers together. We can see revenues, we can see expenses, but when we can't break them down, we don't know where those dollars are coming into us or going out from us. We don't know if we're overspending, or if our segmentation of our room revenues, if we're heavy in one segment but we're low in another, and we maybe need to target that some more to build up that. We don't know that if we don't have the detailed financials. So it gives us a full picture of the detailed numbers. And again, the smaller portfolios, they need to see the true picture of their business operations, not just consolidated numbers thrown together and then wonder what makes up that total number.
Right. Is managing financials particularly tricky for the smaller portfolios? From your experience, maybe what are some of the unique pain points that they encounter? I imagine there might be specific problems kind of around even still relying on manual accounting or kind of generic off the shelf type software solutions, not internet based. I don't know.
Sure.
Like, can we dive into this a little bit, and why CoreSelect has chosen to specifically cater to those needs?
Sure. So, from a unique perspective, I would tell you the accounting prospect on its own, I wouldn't say is overly unique. Debits are debits and credits are credits for all accountants. However, I have found, since I moved into selling technology into this space, and like I said, not being a hotelier, they have some very unique needs in their operations and the way that they view numbers, basing their per occupied room rates and per available room rates, and what's going into those individual calculations. Those are things that not other businesses don't necessarily have that particular uniqueness in what they're trying to do. So I've found that the industry is unique. Our products are built out of the box to support those unique needs. From day one, we have been a hospitality specific tool. We work with very industry specific standards that allow us to bring not the uniqueness of accounting, but the uniqueness of the hospitality industry into the accounting process.
Absolutely. So, how can these kind of innovative accounting software solutions that you're offering help streamline the accounting processes for hoteliers? Let's dive into some of those benefits. I mean, let's to the nitty gritty. I mean, how are we laying this out and how is it making things easier?
Great. So again, you'll hear me use certain terms over and over again because they are very important, and they're things that M3 focuses on. Number one, that hotel specific. I'm going to say that all day long because there
Hmm.
are there are lots of other there are a lot of other accounting solutions in the marketplace that you can make work all day, but you are reinventing the wheel when you take a generic tool and you now have to come in and build that out to have all of the information, all the data that the hospitality or the hotel industry specifically needs. In our environment, from an M3 perspective, we even at the starting point, we talk to our customers that their chart of accounts is kind of the foundation of their business,
Hmm.
that for all of their reporting, for everything else they're going to do, we need to build a solid foundation in that chart of accounts so that the numbers really matter. They understand what they're getting. So we actually work with the USALI or USALI, the Universal Standard of Accounting for the Lodging Industry. um, it has a custom chart of accounts built out that is specific to the hospitality industry. All of the line items that you need from all of your different departments, your revenues, your KPIs, your banquet areas, your F&B, everything that's broken out there that the hotelier or the management company is looking for. That's right there from the start. So I would say that's a key perspective. That's very helpful from an operations perspective. Um,
Is there also an aha, like when the KPIs and things are already presented to you? Do you find that some hoteliers are like, oh, I didn't even know that that was something I was supposed to be paying attention to?
100%. And especially, when we talk about these smaller portfolios now, if it's a new hotelier who may just be getting into the industry, they've come from other businesses. Now they've decided to get into the hotel industry. They may not necessarily know, what they're looking for. Now, hopefully their
Mhm.
staff and the people they bring in are going to be looking for specific data, but to give that information to their managers, if they're just owning the asset, but their general manager who is there day to day trying to run that business, they want to see those broken down numbers from a labor perspective and a revenue perspective. And those are some of the things that we provide. And I would take that a little bit further to say, when M3 does provide all that data, it's in a real-time environment.
Mm.
So one of the challenges that we have found, or that I have found since I have been here, when people work with more generic tools and sometimes outsourced accounting, they get their financial reports, but they may not get them until 30, 45, 60 days after the month closes. It's hard to run your business that way. If you can't make a real-time educated
Mhm.
decision in the moment, 60 days is too late to address what happened
Absolutely.
2 months ago. So that's a key component as well.
Absolutely. And I think part of like that informed decisions, real time data has a lot to do with integration, right?
It does.
Integrating to other systems that are important to hoteliers, like their PMS, their POS.
Mhm.
Uh, let's talk about that kind of importance, what maybe role automation is taking, integration is playing. What does this mean for you in terms of building out your technology, continuously building out your technology, partnering?
Sure. So, anytime you can have automation and you can remove that human element of keying data, and miskeying data is more important than keying data. So, the integrations are become, just very valuable. M3 in all of our accounting, our flagship accounting core product and our CoreSelect product, we have already developed the integrations into over 80 PMS and POS vendors. So we can pull that data in and automate the flow into the accounting application. So there's a couple things that are happening there. Removing the manual entry component,
Mhm.
removing the potential human error piece is always beneficial. The other piece to that, though, if you talk to some of, for example, some people on my team, I've got some salespeople on my team that came out of hotel operations, and they will tell you that the efficiency that they now have of not having to sit there and key that data. The general manager has better things to do than to sit there and do manual data entry. Now, in a larger organization, maybe they have a true accounting team to do all of those things. When we start talking about CoreSelect and the smaller portfolios, they're wearing a lot of different hats,
Yeah.
and data entry isn't necessarily something that they want to sit and do all day long. They need to be operating the business, so that's definitely beneficial. Just makes things a lot more efficient. Um, I think that would be the key efficiency. I think from that integration perspective, and good data in will be good data out.
Absolutely. Looking ahead, how do you see hotel accounting evolving? Like, what might the future hold, emerging trends, technologies that, folks who are developing these technologies, but also those who are wanting to invest in these technologies, what should we be looking out for?
Well, I think one of the things that we're going to see, and it's already, I think we're seeing it everywhere, but artificial intelligence, I really believe, is going to be something that we continue to see um, enhance and develop. I don't know necessarily that we're saying it's going to be doing away with uh, to the point that it does away with positions and staffing. There's still
Right,
going to
right.
need to be people to manage what's and verify and manage what's happening there, but the every time you've got the ability to remove that human touch and allow that person to either manage a guest experience versus the data entry side or do analytical work for you, that's going to be beneficial. For example, in the Core Select environment, one of the things that we call it a machine learning, but when invoices are brought into the system from your vendor, you can import those invoices into the CoreSelect environment. And the first time that invoice comes in, it's going to read a lot of the data and the information there, the general information from the vendor and the PO number and the date, things like that.
Mm,
One of the key things from an operations perspective is coding all of those invoices. So
yeah.
invoice comes in, the first time that invoice shows up, you're going to have to code it so that the system knows where it needs to go. From that point forward, in a lot of spaces, you're ordering the same things from the same vendors on a regular basis. So the next time that comes in, the system sees that invoice, it reads it, it automatically codes it, and it creates the GL entries for you, and it processes
Wow.
all of that. So I think that's going to be, in my opinion, where we're going to see a lot of growth. And M3 is already on the leading edge of implementing some of those technologies.
Absolutely. And, speaking to those hotels that are currently using manual processes or non-hospitality specific tools, what's your advice on taking the next step towards a more integrated kind of tech-driven accounting approach? How would you encourage them to get started?
I think number one, to be very transparent, they really need to understand the benefit of what they're getting, because a lot of hoteliers see those consolidated numbers and they'll tell you, oh, I've got the information right up here, I know it all here, and maybe they do. But being able to go back and as they grow, provide that additional information to those that need it. Um, Perfect example is that small hotelier in the smaller portfolio who wants to grow may have all of that information here, but when it comes time for investors or lenders to grow into the new space, those people want to see detailed auditable financials. They want to know
Right.
that those numbers are accurate, and so be aware of that. It's educate yourself to know what you need and why you need it, and what your lenders and investors will want, and what the owners want to see, from an ownership perspective, because those numbers ultimately drive ownership distributions based on what you see in those numbers. So that's all important. The other thing that I would say is think ahead, be proactive. Don't decide to make the change when you need to make the change.
Mm.
Be proactive and look forward and know that that's coming down the road, and be prepared to make the changes ahead of time, so that when you get to that point where you really need them, everything's already in place. You're ready to just keep rolling and hit the ground running.
Absolutely. And even if that goal isn't the growth, I think there's eventually going to be a handoff, right? And a lot of times I think in these smaller portfolios, it's family based.
Hmm.
And just even that, like wanting to make the transition and the job easier for your children, your in-laws, whoever that might be. I'm curious, we were talking a bit before the show, John, about Core Select and how this compares to other solutions that M3 presents. And we had this analogy of sort of like cars, right?
Hmm.
So there's a little bit of a need and a little bit for everyone. I'm curious if we could just dive in a bit to the birth of Core Select and the purpose in terms of I don't know if I'm wrong when I say this, but maybe like the economy line, or what led to this creation.
Sure, and it's kind of in the name of the product, Core Select. There's the different segmentations in the industry, from your select service properties to your full service and resort properties. They all have different needs, different business needs, and what they're trying to manage. Historically, M3 had for 25 years we had a single accounting product, and
Mm.
it was kind of a one size fits all. If you had a single property, you used Accounting Core. If you had 100 properties, you used Accounting Core. And that single property maybe didn't need all of the features, the feature-rich tool, the sophistication that that larger portfolio might want or need. So that was part of it. Developing a product that could be more user-friendly. Not that I don't want to set the stage that our flagship product is not user friendly, but something that is
Right.
is more set for people who aren't familiar as much with the hotel accounting side. It allows them to get into that on a much easier basis. Now, we also made some changes with this product in some of the newer technologies. While we've continued to enhance the Accounting Core product, there's a lot of new technology that we're rolling into the Core Select tool. It is truly a cloud-based tool. It's providing embedded e-pay features. That's becoming a big deal. The
Mm.
e-payment tools, we've embedded some of that new technology into the application. Our analogy before the call was really along the lines, we were talking about cars, and
Yeah.
there are certain people who, maybe it's a single person coming out of college, they're perfectly fine with a little two-door coupe. They don't need anything big and fancy, as long as it will get them to the end result of where they need to be, point A to point B. That works. Then on the larger end of the scale, you've got somebody who needs a larger SUV with a third row, 3 row seating to be able to haul the grandkids and pull trailers and do things like that. So it really is a differentiator of the needs. And Core
Needs.
Select allows us to have a great entry point that will ultimately allow them to scale, full scalability, and start out at the level of what they need now, and then expand as their business needs change.
Absolutely. I think it's a really beautiful sentiment just in the hospitality industry as a whole. When you look at just the layout of hotels, and there's the big players and the
Mhm.
franchises, but the vast majority, as far as I know, there's not even an exact number that we know, but the vast majority are the independents and the smaller boutique hotels. And in a lot of ways, for me, that's the funner, the more fun places to visit, the more unique places to visit, and to be able to service that side of the industry as well, I think is absolutely amazing. And worth it, because there's opportunity there for the technology to build as well. Do you find that it's more challenging to break into that space? However, I mean, I see the value there, but any tips or ideas in terms of how to approach that particular market?
I would say it is an interesting prospect to break into that, because it is a family. As you said, a lot of times it's a family, more oriented type of business, that they're starting out with 1, 2 properties and then trying to build upon that. I would tell you, in my opinion, I know this may be cliche from a sales perspective. Some people will look at that, but it really is about building that relationship at that basic level with that owner operator, that they trust and have a confidence in what you're bringing to the table for them. And I think that's one thing that M3 does very well. We have people who have walked in all facets of hospitality, from accounting people that can get on the phone and say to that hotelier, I have walked in your shoes. I have day to day lived in the financial side. Maybe, like I said, we have people that can say, I've lived in the operations side day to
Mhm.
day. And we have a lot of people that can come into that space talking to that hotelier and say, not only have I done it, but I did that in a large part of my career with an M3 product. And now I'm here. Let me tell you how this works and why this matters. And that how you keep score matters. They can literally walk them through that. And I think that's a key factor for us in building that confidence, and making those inroads into that particular customer base.
I love it. As we come to the final few minutes of our show, John, how you keep score matters. I wanted to ask you personally as well if you have any final advice that you'd like to give to hoteliers looking to simplify their financial management processes, preparing for the future, or anyone like you who's new-ish to the space, right? Maybe you've come from the accounting side but moved into the hospitality side. What are sort of those final words of wisdom you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, the first piece of wisdom I would say is, if you are in a position that you're looking to make that change and looking to simplify, but also get more efficient and more detailed, come to M3. Call M3. Look me up on LinkedIn. Look me up on Jon.Harden at M3AS. That's the first step. Reach out to us
Absolutely.
and let M3 kind of give you some idea. And I say give you information. Really, what we're looking for is to determine what their needs are, and then build the solution that fits that. That's really what we're looking for. So first and foremost, I would say give M3 a call. Um, I would also say, make sure and every opportunity that you have to take, from an educational perspective on the accounting processes, instead of just looking at the numbers, to know what they mean and why they are
Mm,
important to you. Know why keeping score matters. Those are the key things, and M3 can help with all of that.
absolutely. It's not just red and black, but why? What
Exactly.
constitutes that? I love it. Um, Talking about getting to know M3, it's my understanding that you all will be at the hospitality show next week.
We will. We're gonna have our booth there. We will have a good contingent of different folks from different departments that are going to be there in San Antonio. We're looking forward to that. So we're really getting prepared. We would love to anybody to come by, stop by the booth. We will have a good group of people there. We talked about the CoreSelect product today. We'll have people there that can show you the product. We can walk through it. And if you're going to be there, I am actually on the list of attendees and would love to schedule appointments in advance with myself or with the team. So by all means, look us up, and we hope to see you there.
Perfect. Will do. Well, thank you so much, John, for sharing your story, the M3 story, the Core Select story. And of course, we're wishing you and your team nothing but success as we move forward. Thank you for joining us today on Dr. Live.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate the time, and look forward to doing this again sometime.